So you might have booked that trip to Japan, or maybe you're in Japan right now and you're asking yourself, where do you find the best watch deals in Japan? Well, we at the Japanese Factory have that covered for you. We're going to be doing this video is we're going to be going over all the best places where you can find the best watch deals. So for the first segment of the video, we'll go over the cheapest and most affordable way of obtaining watches in Japan. As the video goes on, the prices of these watches will go higher as we head into luxury watch territory. So if you're looking to find Japan domestic watches for very cheap, the flea markets is where you want to go. Now, if you're familiar with our channel, we have been to many flea markets extensively, so I would suggest checking those videos out if you're curious. But let's start off with the biggest flea market in Tokyo, the Tokyo City Flea Market. This flea market is taking place at a parking lot in front of a horse racing course. I know, weird. But this flea market in particular has been making rounds all over the internet, so it has gradually turned into a tourist destination. But in terms of watches, it is still quite abundant and also very cheap. What I like about the flea market is that you're always able to haggle depending on the person. Sometimes you might get a good deal, but don't push your luck too much. I feel like during these past 2 years, the amount of watch sellers have tripled in size, so you'll be guaranteed to find some amazing watches, but just be wary that not all of these watches might be in the best condition. I would say if you're picking up a watch or two, be prepared to spend at least $100 to $200. I also want to take the moment to mention Japan Samurai Treasures. They have a phenomenal selection of vintage watches. We've partnered with them, and if you use the code JPFactory at checkout or just mention the Japanese Factory sent you, you'll get 10% off your order. We also get a kickback from every order, so we will definitely love the support and go check them out. If you're out during the weekend in Tokyo, more often than not, you'll find these flea markets popping up here and there. So it's always a good opportunity to dig through and find these watches. Here are other flea markets I would like to mention. The Mottainai Japan Flea Market is another massive flea market that occurs every other weekend in Nakano. And they usually have a pretty good selection of watches. And another one that we actually went to recently is the Yokohama Arena Flea Market, but that doesn't happen as often as the other flea markets. So if you're short on time and you're only traveling in Tokyo for a few days, I would ignore all the other flea markets and just go to the big city flea market because it is the best one. Definitely go plan a day or two just for that flea market. Trust me, it's worth it. So the next segment we're heading into is thrift shops. If you've ever gone thrifting in Japan, you will know that it's no joke. This is where you can find a lot of amazing deals on clothing, but you might be asking yourself, how are the watches? Well, I'll explain. I'll first like to bring up the biggest recycle shop in Japan, and that will be Hard Off, Book Off, Mode Off, and Hobby Off. Yeah, the shop name is a little weird, but it's weird enough to stand out from the rest. These shops are practically everywhere in Japan, so always try to test your luck whenever finding these. Be careful as not all book offs will carry watches, but from what I have experienced, you can find watches at Hard Off, Book Off Plus or Book Off Bazaar, and Mode Off, which is more catered towards fashion. If you want the best watch selection, try to go to the major stores in Tokyo, or if you have time, try to explore the countryside of Japan, as they carry a lot more hidden gems. I found many exclusive Japanese watches you won't find anywhere else. As for the pricing, not as cheap as things you'll find at the flea market, but the benefit of shopping at a Hard Off means that the staff has taken good care of these watches and replaced the battery. It's practically brand new because most Japanese people take good care of their things. Other thrift shops that I would like to mention is 2nd Street, which is mostly fashion oriented. You'll find a lot more fashion watches, some G-Shocks, and maybe if you're even lucky, some Swiss brands. But 2nd Street isn't very known for watches. Another thrift shop that is lesser known is the Treasure Factory. This is very similar to Hard Off, but not many shops that are available in the Tokyo area. Still very fun to look through. Obviously, even though thrift shops are used items, they are still very pricey in comparison to the flea market. But if you're basing it off of retail prices, what you'll find in these thrift shops is a lot more affordable and still in very good condition. Don 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 donkey. Okay, I'll stop. Let's talk about the big retail chain, Don Quijote, Yodobashi, Big Camera, and Edion. These shops are pretty much the staple of Japanese retail shops. They literally sell everything and anything, and watches are no exception. Let's go through Don Quijote, or Donki. You'll find plenty of JDM watches like Seiko, Casio, and Citizen at reasonable prices. If you're looking for souvenirs, this is a pretty fun shop, though it's not ideal if you want a more relaxed shopping experience. Depending on which Don Quijote you go to, the watch selection may differ. However, most Donki should have a pretty decent selection. I recommend the one in Shibuya or Shinjuku. Next, I want to highlight Yodobashi, Big Camera, and Edion. These shops are all very similar in popularity and can be found practically everywhere in Japan, no matter where you are. What's great about these stores is that they offer member discounts. If you sign up into their app, you can get exclusive coupon codes that you can use towards watches. 10% might not seem like it's a lot, but if you're buying something expensive like a watch, those coupons can go a long way. You can also fill up on points on their apps when purchasing watches, which comes in handy for your next watch purchase in the future. We also cannot forget to mention that tourists that travel in Japan get 10% tax-free as well, so definitely try to abuse the system that you are given. As for the best location for Yodobashi, the Yodobashi Shinjuku Watch Pavilion is pretty much where you'll find all the best JDM brands at a very affordable price. Edion is a lesser known brand, but their watch world in Akihabara was very surprising, so if you're ever in Akihabara, go check that out. If you're looking for modern watches from Japanese brands, these are all good places to go, as they have a lot better deals brand new than some of the boutiques that will come up later in the video. So before we head into the next segment, I would like to mention that we have created our very own Ultimate Watch Guide of Japan. This downloadable guide will include tons of watch stores spread across Japan that our staff personally recommends. To get access to this, you must be a Patreon subscriber or make a one-time purchase from Patreon or Shopify. This guide is perfect for those who want all their information in one file. We'll also include a Notion link, which makes it easier to parse through the information, and the best of all, this guide will constantly be updated as time goes on. If you want to have access to this guide and also support the channel, please check the description down below. We took a lot of time to make this, and we would love to support your next trip to Japan. For this next segment, we'll go over two watch hotspots, Nakano Broadway and Ginza. We actually already have guide videos for these, but if you don't feel like watching that, let me summarize it for you. Nakano Broadway is a must visit for serious watch collectors. This legendary mall is packed with nostalgia and watches of every type for an affordable price. Now, it is true that a lot of the watch prices in Nakano Broadway have fluctuated over the years, but that's due to the demand and, well, the yen being pretty bad. But even if you spend a lot of money on a watch here, it is nearly impossible to find counterfeit watches. Everything here is genuine and you won't be scammed, unlike other parts of the world. Let's go through some of the watch shops I would like to highlight. Fire Kids is one of our favorite stores in all of Nakano Broadway, especially if you are a JDM aficionado. Every watch in here is from 2005 and below, and you won't believe all the vintage Seikos that they have here. Most of them are overhauled, so even if it is a vintage watch, all if not most of these watches are in working condition. Jack Road and Betty is the most iconic watch shop of Nakano Broadway. It's been here since the inception of the mall opening up. This is perfect if you're looking for modern and vintage Swiss watches, but their Japanese watch selection is quite small in comparison. They definitely have the best selection of watches in all of Nakano. Some of these watches are in such good condition that they honestly just belong in a museum.
The second time I've had to reclaim my property from you. It belongs in a museum. So do you.
Cube Style and Nakano Vintage Mall is where you'll find the best deals in all of Nakano. However, treat it like the flea market, as a lot of the watches in these two stores can be quite questionable. These stores don't really deal with expensive Swiss watches, and sometimes they are in such bad condition they are considered undesirable. Cube Style is something I would recommend more than Nakano Vintage Mall, as the watches in these glass cases tend to have good selection of watches, especially the one facing the main hallway. And finally, I would like to highlight Tokizaemon. which is a store that needs more love as it holds only Japanese brands. The overall vibe of this store is phenomenal as they use old Edo period furniture which ties up the store aesthetic nicely. They also hold Japan-made microbrands, which is not easily obtainable in Tokyo. The only catch is that this store is a bit of a walk away from the Broadway itself, but Tokizaemon is a new watch store that we really wanted to showcase for you guys. While Nakano Broadway is more focused on vintage watches, Ginza is for people that love modern watches, with a few vintage stores sprinkled in. If you already know what watches you want, the brands you like, chances are Ginza might be the place for you. Ginza is home to one of the most watch boutiques in the world, so every brand that you can think of pretty much have their own boutique with the best service you can experience. If it's your first time in Japan or you've never been to Ginza before, these are the stores that I would suggest. The first stop has to be the Wako building. You literally cannot miss this place as it is the clock tower right in the heart of Ginza. If you're ever planning on buying a Grand Seiko, this store might be the best place to do it as you can find models that are exclusive only to this store. Also, if you check out the second floor, it could be quite fun as it has a little museum where it tells you a little bit about Seiko's brand, and you can find a section where they sell Credor, which you don't really see in other retail stores. Right next to the building is the Seiko Dream Square. This space is dedicated for more of the casual Seiko fans. This is also a lot more affordable than what you'll find in the Wako building. Inside here, you'll find Seiko 5, Seiko Prospex, and Astron, and of course, our main man Shohei Ohtani, who haunts us in our dreams. Another little side quest for those who love watches, especially Seiko watches, is the Seiko Museum. It's an absolute gem. Inside, you can learn about the entire history of Japanese watchmaking. I cannot recommend this place enough. You might have to reserve in advance to get in, but it is definitely worth the time. Just know that you won't be able to take home any of the watches in the museum. If you're not that big a fan of Seiko, we always have Citizen, and the Citizen flagship store located in Ginza is also very good. Unlike the Citizen stores that you'll find in department stores, you'll be able to find their entire lineup. The Eco Drive, the Citizen, Campanola, pieces that don't show up outside of Japan. I think a lot of people tend to think about Seiko when they first hear Japanese watches, but the Citizen flagship store is super worth it. It is such an amazing store that everyone should go check out. Give a little love to Citizen because they make great products. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on vintage watches in Ginza as we already have a video dedicated to that, but let's mention these three watch shops. First off, you have Ginza Resin, which is a great spot to go to if you love pre-owned luxury watches. If you're interested in spending tons of money on these high-end Swiss brands, you can probably find a good deal in Ginza Resin. The selection here is incredible, and if you are willing to put down the money for these things, I highly recommend Ginza Resin. Anything in the higher echelon of watch collecting, this is pretty much a place to find the best deals. The next shop is called Shellman, which is kind of a legend on its own. They specialize in the real classics like 40s to 50s Rolex, Patek Philippe, you name it. It almost feels like an antique shop more than the watch shop, but it's incredible to see all these watches still in working condition. They also have their own watch brand that is only exclusive in Japan, so maybe it might be a fun look through if you're curious on what kind of watches they make. If you're looking for something more nitty-gritty like Nakano Broadway, I think Watch CTI is worth checking out. Watch CTI might be a little intimidating as it is a little bit out of the way from all the main stores in Ginza. Once you go down the dark staircase and open the door, you're met with a bunch of vintage Japanese watches that you most likely won't see anywhere else. I would suggest taking a look at their website before going to the store so you can understand what they deal with. I would say it's one of the best places if you love vintage JDM watches. One last tip about Ginza: if you're already hunting for a specific model online, don't just stop at Kurono or the big Japanese e-commerce sites. A lot of the time, those same watches are actually sitting in shops right here in Ginza. With a quick Google search, you can usually figure out which store is holding it, and then you can go buy it directly from the seller. It does take a little bit of work, but it is definitely worth it if you want that dream watch of yours. Before we head on to the next segment of the video, I just want to highlight some shops within Japan. Osaka isn't very known for vintage watches in general, and I feel like you'll have a better shot of finding deals in Tokyo. But if you love vintage watches as a whole, this shop is definitely one of the places that you should go to in Osaka. The people working here are extremely friendly and they know a lot about watches. Also, the store itself is pure insanity. If you want a very unique experience and also maybe walk out with an interesting vintage watch, definitely go check out this shop. Next to Osaka is Kyoto. Kyoto also doesn't have much of a watch scene, but a new micro brand named Cool has been dominating the micro brand scene here in Japan. The shop is located in a quiet area in Kyoto, and their watches are all inspired by vintage watches. When it comes to buying vintage watches, there's always a risk of these watches not working properly or having some sort of damage. But if you love the aesthetics behind old vintage watches, Cool might be the place to go. Not only that these watches are very affordable, it is an amazing gift or memento of your trip in Kyoto. There was actually an announcement that Cool will be making their own store here in Tokyo in the future as well. So definitely try to check that out if you're watching this video many months into the future. Lastly, one of my favorite watch shops in all of Tokyo is Mizutani Camera. Mizutani Camera is located in Ueno Ameyokocho, a drinking street of the area. Ueno does actually have a lot of vintage watch stores, but this is the one that I would highlight from the rest. If you love King Seiko watches or even unusual Japanese watches that have never been released outside of Japan, this place is awesome. The general aesthetic of the store remind me of an older time in Tokyo, and the place is just awesome overall as the store owner is very knowledgeable and has a really good sense in collecting these pieces. If you love Japanese vintage, you honestly cannot miss this place, and maybe in the future we'll do a deep dive of this shop. So the final segment is for those who have decision paralysis and have left it to the final moments to purchase your dream watch. One thing that people tend to not mention is that you still have time to buy a watch before you leave the country. If we are going purely off of convenience and not pricing, I think the best bet will be some of the watch stores inside the major airports. For example, Haneda Airport Terminal 1 has a Wako store, which specializes in Seiko and other watches. Narita Airport Terminal 2 has a place called Move, which handles watches from all over the world. And the Kansai International Airport, which has a Grand Seiko pop-up in the terminal as well. But one place a lot of guides don't mention is outlet malls that are scattered all across Japan. A lot of these malls have Seiko and Citizen outlets, and they're always sold in a very affordable price. These places are a little bit harder to access, and not a lot of tourists tend to go out there to find great watch deals, but my recommendation for our outlet mall is the Granbury Park Mall, which is only a 30-minute train ride away from Haneda. So it's definitely worth going if you have the time and if you want to save a little bit of money. Well, you made it to the end of the video. I know it was a little bit on the longer side, but hopefully it gave you some useful info for finding your dream watch here in Japan. As I mentioned earlier, if you like a condensed downloadable version of everything I covered in this video and some more, definitely check out our Patreon. And one more thing, if you're hunting for a specific watch, swing by our website, thejapanesefactory.com, and send us a custom request. We love to help track down the piece you're looking for. Thanks again for watching, and good luck on your watch hunting journey in Japan.